Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I think the stock market, of something I know a lot about, I think it took a hit maybe for two reasons. I think they look at the people that you watched debating last night and they say if there's even a possibility that can happen, I think it really takes a hit because of that. And it certainly took a hit because of this. And I understand that also because of supply chains and various other things and people coming in.
What is he talking about? It's the Democrats' fault, everybody. It's the Democrats' fault that we have a stock market plunge. That, this week, it was like, it's not over yet. I know everybody wants it to be 4 o'clock. Who is a investor in your world? Trust me, this is what they're waiting for, the markets to close. But the Dow Industrial Average, which is 30 blue chip companies. That's what the Dow is, 30 blue chip companies. And the S&P 500, which is 500 companies, is turn on. It's crashing. We've had like the worst performance of Donald Trump's love. The stock market. He loves Kim Jong-un. He loves President Xi. He loves Prince bin Salman, who dismembers people, and he loves the stock market. Okay, so. This is his, roadmap for how well ordinary Americans are doing. The stock market, well, it's crashing is what it's doing. This is like as bad as it was during the 2008 Great Recession. Now, if you lost your house, I've always told you it was a Great Depression for you. But the blue chip investors, he's saying, don't know what they're doing. Or the blue chip investors, or the people who buy the S&P 500, or they don't know what they're doing, or they're reacting to the Democratic candidates, is what is happening to the market. It has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that this president is wishing this epidemic, pandemic, whatever it turns out to be, he's wishing it away. He is unprepared for it. This is going to be his Katrina. This is an economy that is not doing well for ordinary people. We went over the BLS numbers this week. There has been 0.1% increase in real wages year over year from 2019 to 2020, January to January. It's 0.1% real wage increases for working people. He wants you to focus instead on the stock market. And now the stock market is taking back almost all of its gains that it's made since Donald Trump has become the president. And he's going to blame anything and everything except his ineptness at calming people over what he's, by telling us what steps he's taking to either contain or cure or help out people who contract this virus. The president is saying in front of, these heavyweights of, science, these real giant big brains who are real science-y people like Diamond and Silk. No, I'm not kidding. He sat there yesterday in the Roosevelt Room. That's the big conference table. And seated next to him was that lunatic guy that is always on YouTube that praises Donald Trump like crazy. You know which guy I'm talking about? Can't place his name right now, but we'll think of him. And Diamond and Silk, who did a routine at CPAC earlier in the day that fell so flat on its face. I mean, it's really sad. This is pathetic stuff, okay? But he sat in the Roosevelt Room with the likes of the online, trolls, Diamond and Silk, etc., and decided to tell the American people that the coronavirus will miraculously go away. It will miraculously go away. It will disappear.
If we're doing a great job we should congratulate these professionals that are the best in the world. And you know what? If we were doing a bad job, we should also be criticized. But we have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows. The fact is, the greatest experts, I've spoken to them all, nobody really knows. But we have done, and our professionals have done, a fantastic job. Yes. We're working with other countries. We're trying to help some other countries. A couple of them have gotten hit pretty hard, South Korea and Italy in particular. They've been hit pretty hard. And it'll all work out. And I just want to thank all of the people that have worked with us in government and some of these great professionals, because they have been incredible.
Okay, so you see that little sleeve there, that little red dress with the sparkly on it? That is silk. Okay, that's who that is. And on the other end is Terrence Williams, who is a lunatic, fringy guy who's all over the YouTubes. He tapes himself, he records himself on his phone, and he tweets it out to everybody, saying BS stuff that Trump is the best ever and blah, blah, blah. This is really sick and sad. And the president of the United States' role in a crisis, a public health scare, or an actual crisis, is not to take out a Sharpie and redraw the path of a hurricane that NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, puts out the actual cone of death for hurricanes. And during Dorian, everybody remember this, during Dorian, a hurricane was coming toward Florida, and it stayed offshore again, just a couple miles, enough for us to keep our homes. But Donald Trump had scared the bejesus because he wanted to create chaos in a state that really is friendly to him, Alabama. And after it came out that, the people at NOAA were really, really peeved that he changed the forecast, that he literally changed it for political reasons, they admonished him, and Donald Trump then brought out a map in the Oval Office and drew an addendum to the cone of death in Sharpie and said, see, that's really where it was going. See, and it was going. And he's doing the same thing now with what could be a global pandemic. He is not saying anything that he will do or anything that has been done. He's lying. I mean, there's a big fact check in the homework today. RandiRhodes.com, click on the homework. There's a huge fact check in there about this crazy press conference he gave that rattled the entire global marketplace. Okay, just rattled everybody because there's no leadership here. He lied about a vaccine. We'll have it quickly. We'll have it strongly. We'll have it, everybody will get. And Anthony Fauci, who is, the expert in, allergies and viruses and all that, he said, there is no way we're going to have a vaccine for this particular epidemic. It takes at least a year. You have to first map the virus, then you have to, build a virus that would attack, that would actually create a reaction in your immune system to the virus that wouldn't kill you, but would actually prepare your body for the virus, just like they do with, shingles and like they do with the flu. And, it's a dead virus that they insert. You can't get it from it's a dead virus, and they give it to you, and then your body thinks that it's there, and it builds up a resistance to it. Well, he said that would take, at least a year. You got to clinically try, and it's got to go through at least 2 trials. And this is crazy. And also the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention told reporters, quote, ultimately, we expect we will see community spread in the United States. It's not a question of if it will happen. It's a question of when it will happen and how many people will have a severe illness. Disruptions to everyday life may be severe, but people might want to start thinking about that now. For instance, if you were quarantined, God forbid, who would take care of your dog? Do you know what I mean? Stuff like... And the president is lying about everything to do with it, and the markets are reacting.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We have talked any number of times on this show and all of us more broadly as a press corps about the need for credibility by the administration. Not every administration has some official who has said something that isn't true at one time or another, but the sheer volume of things that are not true that have been said by this president and by some of his aides does not inspire credibility, and it's why they are being questioned on it at a time when they need it. Most of the controversies this White House has dealt with have been of the president's making. Not all, but most. This one is not. And how you handle that is a moment where you want people to believe that they can trust what you're saying, and they have brought this on themselves that people question it.
Exactly. And so uncertainty in the markets about the reaction and about the depth and breadth of a virus that apparently is turning into a pandemic. Don't freak out because we don't know what the lethality of it really is. It does seem to affect people who have, who are elderly, people over the age of 80. 1 in 7 of those patients don't seem to survive, probably because they have what my mom has, heart failure, or because they have other respiratory diseases like pneumonia or like COPD, emphysema, things like that. And so that's who this virus seems to be impacting. The world needs leadership, and there isn't any coming from the United States. Donald Trump has fired the people who were in charge of pandemics. He has gutted the CDC, cut their budget, and in this new budget that he put out that we went over with you, okay, where he wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare and all those things, I told you that the president was going after the Centers for Disease Control in his budget, and he wanted to slash 16% out of their budget because the president thinks whatever, doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so if your children should get coronavirus or your children should, get the flu, which he's surprised to find out is deadly, and you don't have health care, oh, well, too bad for you. It will, it'll go away. And whoever dies, dies. And the question for Trumpanzees, the question for the Cult 45 members, the question for the QAnon freaks is, do you trust this man with your children? Do you? Because that is who is in charge. And every single doctor in this country, every single expert on pandemics, on communicable diseases, on viruses, on there are several types of coronaviruses. Okay, SARS is one of them. That's a respiratory disease too. It's one that attacks your respiratory system. And so, do you trust this president to do anything about any of this? Because I will tell you, the people at Goldman Sachs do not. The people who are investors in the S&P 500 companies or the blue chips in the Dow, they don't trust this president. They don't believe a word he says. They don't think he's got any control or any ideas or any ability or any science that he will listen to help him, not alleviate, because it's a virus, but to mitigate it. They don't think so. Goldman Sachs said in a note yesterday that they put out to investors. By the way, Goldman Sachs, the managing director of Goldman Sachs is Ted Cruz's wife. Yeah. Ted Cruz's wife, Heidi, is the managing director at Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs said in a note on Thursday that the virus is going to slow economic activity across the planet. No earnings growth this year. None. Modest growth maybe in 2021, but no growth this year. All the predictions for the United States GDP, I told you, he was saying, oh, if we pass this tax cut, we'll see 4, 5, 6% GDP. Of course he was lying then. And now you know, because he's never gotten over 4% growth, ever, never. Obama had a couple of quarters over 5%. This man has never achieved that. And now the prediction for the first half of this year, the first whole half of 2020, is 1.2%. 1.2% growth. And that's if we're lucky. You want to understand why? Here's why.
I couldn't disagree with the approach that they are taking more. This is a serious issue, and I think when you're in government, the best thing you can do is to actually focus on the real problem, to look like you have 100% laser focus on preparation, on the actual on-the-ground things that will make the United States better prepared and show that we're being serious. I mean, this is not irrational behavior by the market. They are looking at a dramatic fall in tourism and travel, one. Two, they are looking at a dramatic disruption of the global supply chain that goes beyond the Wuhan region at a time when manufacturing was near depression and when global inventories are low and manufacturing operates in just-in-time manufacturing, meaning a disruption in the supply chain could be particularly harmful. And to go further on what Stephanie said, right now, when you've looked at the U.S. economy, the thing that's made you feel more positive was that the consumer had remained strong. Now, suddenly, you have this dramatic X factor that we see playing out every day, that every consumer we know in our lives is thinking about adjusting their behavior. Every company is pulling back. That is real. It's not just a market psychology kind of challenge. It is about people looking at the economy. And the best thing that Larry Kudlow and the administration can do is show we're not about talking up the market. We're not about economics. We're serious. And to look more like a clown show that looks like it is, worried about the political spin of the moment or trying to talk up the market or tell consumers to buy the dip before the market goes down another 10%, not only doesn't provide that confidence, it actually makes the United States government look like they're not on the job, and that actually can feed more darkness.
I know nothing.
Exactly. It's feeding the darkness. He is making all of this worse because he's being political, as always. What's in the best interest of Donald Trump, not what's in the best interest of Americans, their children, their lives, their health, and the markets. Does it mean, I know something about the stock market? You know nothing. You know nothing about nothing. Your companies have gone bankrupt 6 times. I think now people can see why. Everything is me, 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 me. It has nothing to do with protecting, defending the United States from disease or from enemies, foreign and domestic, white supremacists, racists. I mean, this man, if it benefits him politically, if he thinks it does, then that's what he's going to encourage. And if he thinks that it benefits him politically to tell you to turn off your TV and pretend nothing is going on and that the stock market isn't crashing as a result of his lack of leadership on this issue, then he'll tell you to turn the TV off and just put your hands over your ears, close your eyes and say, la, 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 la. I can't hear you. Whatever benefits him politically. That was a real argument that they made during the Senate faux trial. If it benefits him, screw you.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
The reason you're saying so much attention to it today is that they think this is going to be what brings down the president. That's what this is all about.
Oh, my God.
I got a note today from a reporter saying, what are you going to do today to calm the markets? And I'm like, really, what I might do today to calm the markets is tell people to turn their televisions off for 24 hours.
Mick Mulvaney, everybody. Mick Mulvaney, who's in charge of the Consumer Protection Bureau and is the chief of staff to the President of the United States all at the same time. A president who fired 700 people from the CDC. We have 700 empty positions at the Centers for Disease Control because Donald Trump doesn't think they do anything. This is just insane. And you got people who represent his position sitting there telling you to turn off the TV. This whole thing is a hoax. It's all done by the Democrats. This is something the Democrats did. There's a conspiracy theory out there. That we manufactured this virus and we set it loose or something like that to take him out or to take him down. Meanwhile, I don't know if you remember this little thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, and this is worth replaying because it's really short and it's so telling. Wilbur Ross, our Commerce Secretary, who is MIA as the markets crash, he said absolutely nothing to calm the markets or to present a reasonable, non-emotional response to what is ailing the markets, which is this planet-wide pandemic. He's just AWOL. Okay? This is the man who was the former vice president of the largest money laundering bank in the history of the world, the Bank of Cyprus. Big money laundering outfit. He's now our Commerce Secretary. Just nothing from him because 2 weeks ago he said he thought that the coronavirus would be great for the United States. This was his prediction. These are the geniuses we have on our side. And then you know why they're not geniuses? I'll tell you why. If you remove the option of cheating, these men go broke. If you remove the option of making money in a criminal fashion, they can't do it. He said that the coronavirus outbreak will help accelerate the return of jobs to the United States.
Well, first of all, every American's heart has to go out to the victims of the coronavirus.
Oh, thanks.
So I don't want to talk about a victory lap over a very unfortunate, very malignant disease. But the fact is, it does give businesses yet another thing to consider when they go through their review of their supply chain. On top of all the other things, because you had SARS, you have the African swine virus there, now you have this. It's another risk factor that people need to take into account. So I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America, some to U.S., probably some to Mexico as well.
These are pigs. These are really vile pigs. First of all, he was wrong, okay, because the market is in a total sell-off mode. And two, to say, I'm sorry that you're dying over there. It won't come here. This is a great opportunity for American manufacturing. I just told you, American manufacturing has been in a technical recession. It is now in a depression. And the just-in-time manufacturing model means they just manufacture just in time to meet the requirements of any contract they have to provide X into the supply chain. And so now they're caught without materials that they may need to make X and insert it into the supply chain. This is just so unbelievably preventable, and we're all going to suffer the crap out. I mean, this is just so amazing to me. This is so hideous. And what was the president's position before all? He left 700 positions at the Centers for Disease Control empty because he said those people don't do anything. They don't do anything. And where did he make the cuts? He made the cuts in infectious disease control and health emergency readiness. Genius. His budget for next year cut another 16% for global health initiatives at the CDC. Jason in Pennsylvania.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been said that coronavirus may have been created by the government. I was just curious, do you have any theories about where you think it might have originated from?
Yes.
I personally think
it originated in bats, just like SARS, okay? It originated in bats, B-A-T-S, bats.
All right, because I had a friend, and he thought that it was created by either Hillary or Senator Warren's vag, or possibly yours.
Yeah, and I heard Senator Tom Cotton say that, too, that it was created in a factory in China, and it was released to punish us for I don't know what. Yeah, this is all bullcrap. It was actually the coronavirus. There are many coronaviruses. Corona just means that when you look at the virus under a microscope, you know how the sun has like this crown around it? Well, this particular virus, the organisms have crowns around it. It is part of a family of viruses called coronaviruses. This one's called COVID-19. That's what you have when you have the disease. SARS was also a coronavirus. So that originated in bats, and this originated in bats. And what happened in Wuhan was they had an illegal marketplace that was selling animals, bats and snakes and rats and all kinds of, right next to the food supply. That's where it started. It comes from, it's called a zoological disease, meaning it's communicable from animal to human and then human to human.
Wow, that just has me really worked up. I just hope we can get Trump out of there and get Bernie in.
Yeah, well, just look it up, okay? Just everybody just freaking look it up. Sal in Louisiana.
Yeah, listen here. Every time I hear y'all on TV, y'all want to cut the president for that, cut the president for this, cut the president for everything.
Because he's a liar. He's a liar. He's an he's a fraud. He's been adjudicated as being somebody who ran a fraudulent charity. Can
I ask you a question?
No.
I can't ask you a question.
No.
He did more for this country than any other president did. He did nothing for this country.
All he did for this country was pass one tax bill that was a deficit finance, meaning you and me paid for.
Who's putting up the wall? Who's trying to get the illegals out?
There is no wall.
Who's trying to fight those gangs?
What gangs? Where are the gangs?
Oh, what gangs, huh?
Where are the gangs? Where are they? What?
New York, all of. Look. Let me tell you something.
They're in New York. Do you know what the crime rate in New York is? Do you have any idea?
Gangs over to America.
Do you have any idea how low?
And put them up in different countries, in different cities, all over the United States.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
And when they get them located in different cities all over the country, they start pushing their drugs to kill our people.
Have you ever heard of Iran-Contra?
Yeah.
Okay, so which side were we on?
Okay,
thanks. We were on the side that brought the drugs. That's what we did. Oliver North laundered the drug money through Saudi Arabia and funded the Contras. That's what happened.
Oh! This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Oh my God, you're not even going to believe this video. This is crazy. This is really crazy on many, many, many fronts, okay? I'm just going to play this and I'll tell you what's going on here. So this is a man who is a part of a... They're characterizing him on Fox News. They did this interview with him as a Pennsylvania resident. But this is a man who's lived in China for over 15 years, okay? His wife is a Chinese citizen, and he moved to China. Apparently, they lived in Guangzhou, which is a big factory town, right? And then they moved to Wuhan 3 months ago because his wife's father was all alone. The wife's mother died of a massive stroke. So they moved to take care of the wife's father. All right? So now he comes back from China and he's been quarantined and he says he's fine. He's being interviewed on Fox with his young 3-year-old daughter and shares a bottle of water. Just watch this.
I think as time goes forward, hopefully doctors and scientists will get a better handle on the whole situation. Fortunately, from what I understand, it is contagious, but the death rate is pretty low. Yeah, I understand the fear.
Yeah, well, we can see you still have a cough. What do the doctors say about your own condition moving forward as we wrap this up?
Excuse me.
Oh, my God.
Let me get some of that.
Oh, my God. He just took a water bottle from his 3-year-old, took a sip and gave it back to her.
I got tested twice, negative both times. The cough, probably just nerves.
Yeah, being on TV.
Fair enough.
Oh, my my God. How dumb are people? Do you see that? He was in quarantine. He says he tested negative for coronavirus. He's coughing his brains out. He comes over from China. He's lived in China for 15 years. He's got his little 3-year-old, adorable, sitting there with a little tiny bottle of water, and he takes the bottle of water from his 3-year-old, takes a sip, and gives it back to his daughter mid-cough. Oh, Jesus God. Oh, help us. I mean, this is unbelievable. And here's the kicker to the story. Because he lived in China for the last 15 years, he doesn't have American health insurance. He has Chinese nationalized health insurance. He gets his health care in China, and his insurance that he gets in China doesn't work here. So when they put him in quarantine here, he said, quote, although I assumed all medical bills from our time in quarantine would be paid by the government, it turns out I'm financially responsible for the 6 days Annabelle and I spent in isolation at the hospital. And because he can't afford health insurance in the United States, but he gets insurance in communist freaking China where he's chosen to live, he's set up a GoFundMe page to help pay for his trip from China and to help pay for his American quarantine, his hospitalization here in the United States for 6 days. And also he wants to bring his wife over, but he can't afford a $2,200 plane ticket for her to come. He says he's supposed to undergo follow-up checkups, but the guy has no health insurance. You think he will? Think he will, anybody? Oh, my God. Jason in Oregon.
Ready.
Jason.
How's it going?
Good.
It's good to talk to you. I'm a long time, third time. I just wanted to, I didn't want to call you out because I know your policy on the primary. I just want you to know that I know that you love Elizabeth Warren and you wish she was president. And I am right there with you, sister. And I've wanted her to be president since 2012. Not to get rid of Obama, just because I love her. I love how she fights for us, and I love her politics. Besides that, though, what really, really has been bothering me lately with this entire primary fight is this Pete Buttigieg. And you were talking about your daughter and how you were going to have a micro conversation, a little caucus, and we're going to hash this out. I just want to say, like I've been telling a couple of friends of mine who love Buttigieg, yes, the guy is a great pianist. Yeah, the guy is super smart. The guy is charming. He's a military veteran. He's gay. He's awesome. But guess what? The whole idea that we need a centrist to beat Donald Trump is ridiculous. We had a centrist with 1,000 times more credentials than Pete Buttigieg will ever have. The most qualified person who's ever run for president lost to Donald Trump. She was a centrist. What are they talking about? I am so sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Help me, Randy.
I don't know what they're talking about, but, look, it looks to me like South Carolina tomorrow, Joe Biden will emerge as either the winner or at least in second place. Tom Steyer looks to come in third place. Any concerns about this? Anybody concerned about this? And Bernie will probably come in, second. So we're going to have new life breathed into these candidacies that don't seem very viable. But let's just hope South Carolina comes and goes and we move on to Tuesday. March 4th, the day after Super Tuesday, we will have a much better handle on how this is looking and where this is going. Here's a little factoid for everybody. By the end of March, 2/3 of the delegates, the 3,979 delegates that we vote for. I've been making a mistake for the last 2 days. 1991 is the majority. That would be 50% plus one, and I've been making a mistake on counting. But 1991 is 50% plus one. That's what any nominee will need to avoid a brokered convention, okay? But after Tuesday, we'll know, the trajectory. And I would hope to God that some of the candidates who obviously are not viable will drop out and endorse so that we don't have a tearing apart of our party.
That really worries me. the party split really, really worries me. I think people are playing it down. I think that the establishment is looking out for themselves right now, and they know that they can, some try to suppress the Bernie wave. The Bernie wave is a strong and it's real thing. I 100% support Bernie. I just feel like I like Elizabeth Warren better, but the progressives have to be listened to this time. They have to give us a chance. If they don't, I don't believe that there will be a Democratic Party except for corporatists, but it's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Donald Trump destroyed the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party needs to go next. There's no doubt. But they may do it to them. They may commit suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been so against this party for a really long time. When in 2016, when Hillary was able to go out and get 800 superdelegates to endorse her before the first debate even happened. And so, right, and it was baked into the cake that she was going to be the nominee before the first debate even occurred. I thought, this is a rigged system. This system is busted. This party is terrified of its own voters. It's terrified of the unwashed masses as much as the Republicans hate the unwashed masses. So you have one party that governs for the elite, that governs for the rich. That would be the Republicans. All they ever do is lower taxes for the very wealthy. And then you have another party that understands, the middle class, but doesn't really want them to participate in choosing who leads this country. Just leave it to us. We'll pick someone good for you. And they're both very undemocratic, and they both have to go.
Yeah. I really worry about the convention. I hope it doesn't go there. Another thing that's really been keeping me up at night is the idea, not the coronavirus, it's bad enough. But what is Trump? Isn't this like giving him some excuse to completely shut down the elections and just quarantine everybody and saying, martial law, we're done, somebody got sick? I could just see them going there, and I think this is bad timing. Hopefully it doesn't spread to the point where he has any ideas about that. Because people already, Donnie Jr., these characters, they're telling him that. It's a sick world we live in.
Don Jr. actually said it out loud yesterday. He accused the Democrats of perpetuating this hoax of coronavirus to defeat his father. He actually
Are you surprised the way they've been handling the coronavirus situation, meaning Democrats?
Not at all. I mean, we've seen, like you said, we've seen this play out for 4 years. Anything that they can use to try to hurt Trump, they will. Anything he does in a positive sense, like you heard from the reporter that was just suspended from ABC, they will not give him credit for. The playbook is old at this point. But for them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning is a new level of sickness.
This is a very demented boy. I could see why he drank himself, to numbness, because living in his head must be so painful. His dad wasn't there for him when he was growing up. His mom raised him, and now all of a sudden he's having to follow in his dad's orange footsteps. I don't know. We're rooting for people the stock market is crashing. What is winning? What looks like winning to you? Your father has cycled through 6 communication directors, 5 national security advisors, 3, a chief of staff. All his friends are in jail or facing sentencing. Winning?
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Hi, Jason.
Hey now, Senator Warren. Welcome to Charleston.
Thank you.
During the Nevada debate, you and every other candidate on the stage, except for Bernie, hello somebody, indicated that the candidate with the plurality of delegates should not necessarily be the nominee.
Uh-huh.
This essentially means the will of the voters could be denied by the superdelegates and the DNC, which is basically undemocratic.
It is.
And in my opinion, is a bunch of baba booey, to put it politely. Can you explain why the will of the voters should not matter if no candidate reaches a majority of delegates?
So you do know that was Bernie's position in 2016?
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah. Look,
He won 22 states, so he went to the convention
that was
for his
Bernie's
voters.
position in 2016, that it should not go to the person who had a plurality.
Okay.
So, and remember, his last play was to superdelegates. So the way I see this is you write the rules before you know where everybody stands, and then you stick with those rules. So for me, Bernie had a big hand in writing these rules. I didn't write them, but Bernie did when they were putting together the 2016 platform for the Democratic Convention. Those are the rules that he wanted to write and others wanted to write. Everybody got in the race thinking that was the set of rules. I don't see how come you get to change it just because he now thinks there's an advantage to him for doing that.
So there's a lot of contretemps about that. And people are calling Elizabeth Warren everything from wrong to a liar. She's correct. I hate to tell you, the rules are the rules that were negotiated for. In 2018, they adopted them. Bernie's team was at the table. Hillary's team was at the table. And the DNC was at the table. That's who the players negotiating the rules for the 2020 convention were. And in 2018, and if you want, you can see all this stuff. We went back and got the old articles from 2018 that show when the rules were changed and what the new rules were. In 2018, they changed the rules, the DNC did. And what they did was they went from allowing the superdelegates to participate in the first vote, which was the case in 2016, and that was undemocratic, because as we know, Hillary Clinton went around to all the party, mahas, whatever you want to call them. The House members are superdelegates, the senators are superdelegates, party, donors are superdelegates, big city mayors are superdelegates, etc. Elizabeth Warren is a superdelegate, so is Bernie. Just saying. Well, Bernie wanted to get rid of the superdelegates after 2016. Not in 2016. In 2016, Bernie was asking the superdelegates to choose the candidate that could beat Donald Trump. He said, quote, and this is what Bernie said, this is not in the negotiation, this is prior to the adoption of the rules that we have now, and I'll tell you what they are. They're very simple. I hate them, but they're simple. He said in 2016, May 1st, quote, the responsibility that superdelegates have is to decide what's best for this country and what's best for the Democratic Party. And if those superdelegates conclude that Bernie Sanders is the best candidate, the strongest candidate to defeat Trump and anybody else, yes, I would very much welcome their support. On May 29, 2016, Sanders said superdelegates had, quote, a very grave responsibility to make sure that Trump is not elected president of the United States. I urge the superdelegates to vote for the strongest candidate. Not for the candidate that had the majority of delegates, but for Bernie Sanders, because he felt that he was in a better position to defeat Trump. He could be right, but he did make a play for the superdelegates. He absolutely did. Hillary made the play for the superdelegates before the first debate was even held. That's also disgusting and undemocratic. And in fact, that stupid stand-up comedy that I got in so much trouble for, that I got fired over and banned from, there's a radio station in Chicago that the people of Chicago want me on, and I can't be on it because the family that owns it are Hillary people. And they will never forget that stand-up that I did about the pledged delegates and the superdelegates. That's what that comedy routine was about. It was very high-minded, sophisticated, jokes about Hillary Clinton picking off the superdelegates before the first debate. That's what we were talking about. Anyway, on June 7th, 2016, Bernie said that his superdelegate convention push would defy history and it would defy the will of the voters because he said, quote, defying history is what this campaign has been about. So when Elizabeth Warren says in 2016 Bernie Sanders' position was a play for the superdelegates, she's correct. Number two, in 2018, new rules were adopted by the DNC. Bernie's team was at the table, as I mentioned, and so was Hillary's team, and so was the DNC. And they negotiated. Now, Bernie was trying to negotiate that a plurality of the delegates, say you don't get 50% plus one, let's say you get 45%, that was a clear indication that the superdelegates ought to support that candidate. And he was negotiating with the Rules Committee at the DNC to get it written into the rules that the delegates should be, that a plurality of the delegates should be sufficient to clinch the nomination. The Rules Committee rejected that. They did not go with that. Hillary Clinton's team and the DNC were able to have enough votes to defeat that proposal. That's just a fact. And so now the rules say this. The superdelegates, who are the DNC, elite, do not get to vote in the first round, okay, at the convention. But that the person who is trying to become the party's nominee shall show up at the convention with 50% plus one of all the available delegates that we vote for, the regular, ordinary, pledged delegates. Here are the names. So when we vote, we're voting for pledged delegates. When the party votes, that's the superdelegates. Sometimes they call them automatic delegates, meaning, well, sure, because you're a party member or because you're a small city mayor or a large city mayor or because you're a senator or a house member, of course you're a superdelegate. Of course you get to vote in your own convention, in your own nominating convention. So the pledged delegates are the ones we vote for. The supers are the party elite, and sometimes they're called automatic. So don't get confused. Supers are automatic. Pledged are what we're voting for. There are 3,979 pledged delegates up for grabs in the primary season. Out of that, we have to send someone to the convention who has 1,991 pledged delegates. 1991. That's 50% plus one of the 3,979 that's out there. Those are the rules. Whether you like them, I don't. I think this is very undemocratic. The Republicans do nothing like this. They don't even have proportional voting the way we do, where, for them, you win the state of Tennessee, you win all the delegates that Tennessee has. For us, oh no, oh hell no, our party doesn't trust us. So if you win the state of Tennessee, depending on where you won, you will get a proportional amount of delegates assigned to you. And you get to take those to the convention as part of your total. You have to get to 1991 to avoid a contested or brokered convention. Those are the rules. Bernie Sanders tried to get those rules thrown out. He did not win that fight. That's just the way it is. I don't like it. You probably don't like it, but you probably don't realize that is the negotiated settlement.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Here's this little gem, too.
I think people are ready for a call to action. They want to move forward. They want to have honest leadership who cares about them, who thinks about them first, who isn't going down to Washington so that they can get a bunch of fancy steak dinners and have doors open for them and drive around in limousines and buy fancy suits, which you don't have to worry about with Bernie. Where do you get that suit, man? Right off the rack. That's not what they want. They want somebody who's going to fight for them. Somebody who's going to say, you know what? Let's have a prescription drug plan that's written on behalf of the people of America instead on behalf of the prescription drug companies. Why don't we try something like that? Let's have a budget that reflects our values and our priorities, that doesn't cut veteran spending, even as we claim to be patriotic, that doesn't end up cutting student loans at the same time as you say you want to promote higher education and increase competitiveness for the United States. How about an administration and a Congress that insists on a foreign policy that is both tough and smart? Since right now we've got a party that has the monopoly on the tough, dumb foreign policy strategy.
You get the gist, right? So that was Obama stumping for Bernie when he was very, very young. That was back in 2006. 2006. So just to be fair here, we told you that Bernie is, obviously was at the table when the rules that are currently in place for the 2020 convention were negotiated. And yes, Bernie was for everything from abolishing superdelegates and not even having them, which I'm all about. Elizabeth Warren is for abolishing superdelegates. She says she is one, and she shouldn't even, participate in the nomination process. The people ought to do it. So they both agree about the superdelegates. The problem is that those rules are not the rules that we will be nominating the 2020 candidate with. Those are the rules that we wish to have, not the rules that we have. And people get very angry at me when I explain that to them because they think I'm advocating for Bernie or Elizabeth or this or that. No, I'm just telling you that there was a negotiation that would have abolished superdelegates. There was a negotiation that would have left it to the people, and it failed. And so your beef is not with me. Your beef isn't with Bernie. Your beef isn't with Elizabeth Warren. Your beef is with the DNC. Plain and simple. Taylor in California.
Absolutely, the beef is with the DNC. The thing I've noticed with Warren, though, is that everybody that was aware at that time knows about the Tom Perez being pushed on us and how that ended up keeping the superdelegates. Warren is a Harvard professor. She knows darn well why they got there in the first place. She also knows the difference between the Sunrise Movement and Our Revolution and this $9 million super PAC that just bought. She keeps doing these things that are more by the traditional playbook, play dirty, but she campaigns as if she is also like Bernie, not going to take super PAC money, not going to play dirty. She has videos of her saying most votes, and she just keeps contradicting herself.
I know, but let me throw this one
on her word.
Let me throw this one out and see how you feel about this. And you're safe here. You can vote for whoever you want. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. So Bernie was asked whether or not, Bloomberg says that if he doesn't get the nomination, which he won't, that if he doesn't get the nomination, that he would continue to fund the presidential campaign, leave offices open, etc., and put $100 million or more into the election. And Bernie was asked whether or not he would take it, and he didn't give an answer. He was not definitive. He was like, I don't, because the question to him was, you say you don't want billionaire money, but if Bloomberg gives you $100 million, would you take it? And if not, why not? And he didn't answer that question. He said, pretty much when we get there, we'll see. So how do you feel about Bernie if he takes Bloomberg's money?
I know that they said absolutely hell no. I think Bernie should have said absolutely no.
But he didn't.
I would never take Bloomberg's money.
But he didn't.
I know that's a bad answer. I'm not defending it.
So I'm just saying. So if he did, would that somehow diminish him for you, or if he didn't and he was up against all this money coming in from Trump, would that diminish?
I'm a socialist, though.
I'm just saying to you. I'm asking you. Okay, I'm asking you a very specific question, and I really want the answer from you. If he does take money from Bloomberg, does that diminish him in your eyes? And if he doesn't take money from Bloomberg to help himself, does that diminish him in your eyes?
I absolutely don't want him to take money from Bloomberg, and it will diminish him in my eyes. Absolutely, yeah. But I also don't believe leaders should be without criticism from their supporters. I don't particularly no. I think that would be bad.
So your position would be that you would criticize him for taking the money, but you would still vote for him, right?
Yeah, but that would be in the general you're talking about the general election. I'd be stuck with him versus Trump.
Yeah, in the general. In the general, should he become the nominee? Yes, in the general, no. I'm asking.
I mean, either way, I don't like it, but
seems to me,
I would fall in line.
It seems to me that a lot of Bernie bros, a lot of people who support Bernie are purists, meaning if it's him or, Trump can win again, number one. Number two, if it's Bernie and Bernie takes money, then screw Bernie, I'm not voting either. And I neither one of those is acceptable to me.
I don't expect him to do that. I will say that the honest truth is a lot of people that support Bernie, like as far as myself, I was a progressive in 2015 when I supported him. After supporting Bernie, I have went left of the Democratic Party. A lot of his supporters have no loyalty. And are we not wrong to see all the headlines about superdelegates? The thing with Bernie versus Warren and the progressive movement and aligning behind a progressive movement, for those of us that care about a progressive agenda, she doesn't have the diverse movement of crazy people that knock on doors everywhere and make 30 million calls like Bernie does. Well, I don't know where she would get that momentum after they steal the nomination for her.
So you're still fighting the Warren nomination, and when I'm asking you about the purity test for Bernie.
Oh, I think a lot of people are absolutely Bernie or bust. Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that's extremely naive, dangerous, and, if you like Social Security, if you like Medicare, for anybody, you better wake up.
Fatality. Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
This has to be the clip of the week. We found this one. This is Michael Bloomberg a couple years ago.
There was a guy, Bernie Sanders, who would have beaten Donald Trump. The polls show he would have walked away with it.
And now he's on stage trashing Bernie. You're too polarizing is what he says. But, Bloomberg has always liked Bernie. I don't know what the connection is, but he likes him. He likes him a lot, I guess, because he understands Bernie can't be bought. And, that's appealing for, I guess a billionaire who buys everything. He's a shopaholic, Bloomberg is. I don't know what the deal is, but he actually believed that Bernie could beat Trump. And the Bernie voters in the primary, they are right to believe that Bernie can and will beat Donald Trump. But all the Democratic candidates beat Donald Trump. And that's the dirty little secret. That is. Now, if I saw one candidate that could beat Donald Trump and no other candidates that were running for the nomination could, I might say something during the primary about that fact, but it's just not a fact. The fact is, Bernie, and this was a Fox poll. They had this on TV. You could go check my Twitter feed. I actually tweeted out a still from the Fox News channel where they posted the poll that clearly shows that every one of our contenders for the Democratic Party's nomination as our candidate for President of the United States beats Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a loser, and Donald Trump cannot do anything without cheating. He can't make money without cheating. He has to launder money from, over there. He has to take dirty money from China, dirty money from Russians, dirty money from the Iranian terrorist groups to build his Azerbaijan tower. I mean, you look at Donald Trump, he is a complete and utter criminal. He's also a fraud and a phony in the way that he runs a charity. And now the court has ruled that neither Donald Trump nor his children can ever hold a position of trust or honor on a board of a foundation, a charitable foundation, because they are such criminals, because they dishonor charity giving in such a way that they can't even be allowed to sit on a board. He also ran a freaking university that was sued. During the election, he was told to pay $25 million to the people who paid $36,000 to go to a fraudulent Trump university. Then we find out that, the foundation was raising money saying it was going to go to wounded vets, and it never did. I mean, oh, God, why am I so... He's the greatest president we've ever... You must not think very much of, FDR or Eisenhower or Truman or any of our presidents to say this piece of swill, this fraudulent, demagoguing dictator, autocrat is the greatest thing we've ever had. Boy, you just crap all over American history when you say crap like that. Rich in Michigan.
Hey. I'm going back to what that weird guy was saying about the drugs and the Mexican.
The guy from Louisiana who said that the gangs were all over the place,
Yeah, our biggest drug dealers are the CIA. You go all the way back to the late 50s, and they helped Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters start hippies instead of mind-washing people. During the Vietnam War, Air America brought more heroin to the United States and then redid it again here just in the last few years. And it's just, and of course, Trump, God only knows what he's pouring in his nose. And it's just, it's amazing to think the corruption and BS that flows from our government and the politics and of course, our crazy president.
Well, the United States of America is responsible for everything that looks like Central America now. But we are totally responsible for coups in Honduras, coups in Salvador, coups all over Central America, Guatemala. I mean, we're crazy. We're crazy people. We do stuff that doesn't even benefit us economically for ideological reasons, like Ronald Reagan, the funding the Contras with drug money that was, and selling tow missiles to the Iranians, and then he gets on the TV. This was the craziest apology I ever saw in my life. He was a cult too. Okay, not as deep as this one. But Ronald Reagan, I remember, sat on the TV and actually said that his heart told him he didn't sell drugs to the Contras, he didn't sell tow missiles to Iran, and he didn't launder all that money. But the facts tell him that he did.
Yeah, that's where the cocaine problem started.
I couldn't believe it. And by the way, MS-13, they did not originate in the Northern Triangle, okay?
No, Los Angeles.
In prison in Los Angeles back in the 80s. In the 80s.
Yep, I lived through all that.
Yeah.
I got to watch all that cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's just totally nuts.
Yeah, they started 20 years before Obama was president, okay? They are a prison gang. That's who they are. And under the leadership of this one guy, they became what you know them as now. They transformed into they took this old LA street gang that was coming out of prisons for drug violations, and they turned them into an LA street gang like 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago.
Yeah,
and the guy that organized them in and out of the prisons, okay, his name was Ernesto Deras, okay? Ernie Deras, okay, for those that don't speak Spanish. Ernesto Deras. He was trained by the American Green Berets.
Isn't that great? That's like they said the same thing with Ken Kesey and the CIA. They created the hippie movement. They wanted to create mind-washed people that were going to be Manchurian candidates, and they created the hippie movement.
Well, I just want to say, I hear you, but if people are concerned about drug addiction in this country, you don't need to go back 30 years for MS-13, who were arrested on drug charges after we loaded Los Angeles with crack cocaine so that we could fund an illegal war in Central America. I just say, so let's not go there. But if you want to know who the biggest, drug dealers are, look no further than your doctor's office, okay? It's Big Pharma. People are not addicted to crack cocaine anymore. They're addicted to pills. And when the pills dry up, then they go to street drugs. I mean, get real with yourself, for God's sake. And this president has concocted, a gang thing that's 30 years Made in America. Don't be stupid. And certainly do not call me with your stupidity, because I'm not your crazy aunt from the trailer park. I'm not your crazy aunt, okay? I'm not your nutty sister who, braids her armpits and goes to protests. I'm a I actually understand American history. And for Donald Trump to say they're rapists and talking about Mexicans, for God's sake, of all people, who built the West. And for him to lie to you and tell you that he's building a wall, his freaking stupid fence, which is replacement fencing for older fencing, blew over in a 37-mile-an-hour wind gust. It's impenetrable. We're going to paint it black because it's hot. He's a moron.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Want to see something really, really painful and, hard to watch? Want to watch something really hard to watch? This is Diamond and Silk at the CPAC convention, not to be confused with your bacteria-laden CPAP mask, okay? This is painful.
The last four letters in Democrats.
Yeah.
Spell rats.
Rats. R-A-T-S.
Yeah.
And the symbol happened to be a donkey. Did y'all know that?
Their symbol is a donkey.
Yeah.
Why does she repeat everything?
Oh, but to you Democrats.
Uh-huh.
I know.
You may make an ass out of you.
Uh-huh.
But you won't make an ass out of us.
No, you won't.
No.
No, you won't.
No, you won't.
You won't do that. Not to us. No, you won't.
You can keep your free stuff.
Keep it.
Because we don't want it.
That's right.
Now, the last four letters in Republican is I can.
I can.
Think about it, y'all.
Think about it.
I can.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huh.
I can think for myself. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps.
Yes, I can.
And I can obtain the American dream.
Yes, I can.
Yes, we can. Do they not even understand what they're doing? Yes, we can. Si se puede. What? That was painful, I gotta say. And then he had a meeting in the Roosevelt Room to discuss coronavirus with those two sitting next to him on one side, this crazy Twitter guy sitting on the other side, and Candace Owens sitting next to Diamond and Silk. Because, everybody, he wants the black vote. What do you got to lose?
Oh, for God's sake.
Now, I just want to tell you that the black vote in South Carolina is going to be tabulated tomorrow, and it will probably be divided between Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. That's just a fact. So tomorrow is South Carolina. Next Tuesday is Super Tuesday. Get ready to rumble. Leonard in California. May I help you?
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, Randy, this is Dave.
Oh, Dave, sorry. It's Leonard.
Yeah, no problem. Listen, I got a really important...
Uh-oh. Your phone carrier didn't think it was that important. Yeah, he's gone. All right, Johnny in Texas.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh, I can.
Okay. Was it in the South, during the South Carolina debate, that someone asked Bernie whether he would take money from Bloomberg? Because I must have missed that.
No, I think it was in the debate before. I think it was in the Nevada debate. I don't think it was in the South Carolina debate was like Black Friday at Walmart. I mean, that was just off the hook bad. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was unwatchable, and it was all. I blame Gayle King. I blame CBS for hiring Gayle King because she was Oprah's friend, thinking that she is now a newswoman. I don't even understand what freaking corporate is thinking anymore. You're breathing all over me, and coronavirus, gotta let you go. Did you hear that? He was touching himself, everybody. I have this very sick feeling. You know what I should do as a premium for Free Speech TV? I should make like 8x10s of myself, but laminate them so you can wipe them clean and use them over and over again. Don't call me up breathing heavily during the coronavirus pandemic. Justin in Nebraska.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I kind of just want to make this statement. I feel like if this next candidate, whoever it is, whoever becomes the next Democratic president, if they don't bring some real change to the table, I just feel like we're kicking the can down the road. We're not getting anywhere, and we're going to lose a lot of voters.
I agree with you. I agree. And when we have, yes, we do. And when we have these baked into the cake results where if somebody shows up with 45 or 50% of the delegates, but not 50 plus 1% of the delegates, then all of a sudden the super delegates, the party, elites are free. The party insiders are free to pick somebody that they want and not who we wanted and not who, campaigned their brains out all over this country, didn't, sit on the back of a bus or travel or eat pork on a stick beginning last year in Iowa, all the way through to Nevada, to New Hampshire, to South Carolina, to California, to Texas, to Utah, to freaking, North Dakota. All of a sudden the elites are going to pick for us. This is heinous. And when I tell people what the rules are, I am certainly not telling you because I'm endorsing them. I'm telling you because they're undemocratic, horrible rules. But they are the rules.
It's what they agreed upon, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just feel that you got people who are ready. There were people who were ready to call it quits when Bernie lost last time, and Hillary, she had those 3 million extra votes or whatever they were, and she was supposed to win, but. It seems like the system's just completely rigged against everyone. I don't know. I just feel like we need some serious change, or we're going to lose a lot of people who support.
When we quit on voting for Hillary, and a lot of the Bernie people quit on voting for Hillary. And when people voted for Jill Stein and threw away their vote in that manner in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan, where it was literally, 22,000 votes statewide that made a difference, 11,000 votes statewide that made a difference, and then the almost exact number of Stein voters were 11,000. You know what I'm saying? When people quit on her like that, they wiped away any chance at all for any change that would benefit them, and instead they chose a man who made change for the very wealthy in this country all over again, financed on our backs. So quitting is not an option, especially now. So I get why people are demoralized. I get why people understand it's rigged, because it is. But you have to show up in such vast numbers that no one can get within cheating distance. And that's what I was saying during the Hillary general election, because I can show you my ballot in the last primary. I voted for Bernie. I proudly voted for Bernie. It took me 2 hours to vote for Bernie, but I voted for Bernie. Okay, and then I had to vote for Hillary because that's the way it came out. I wasn't about to quit on us just because she was more moderate than I wanted. I wasn't willing to throw my vote away because she doesn't like me. And, she actually had her little taste of revenge against me. But it's politics. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Vote for a fascist or sit home? That's not me either.
Right. I guess, you can't quit. I mean, you just got to fight for what you believe in, I guess.
You do.
Thanks for taking my call. Have a good day.
You too. And you got to stay in the fight, even if you're disappointed, even if I was personally penalized. My show was shelved. I was what they call indefinitely suspended. There is no such thing in the law, okay? Indefinitely suspended. No idea when I would get my mic back. Just sidelined at the request of Hillary Clinton at Air America. That is what happened. And I still voted for her because it didn't make any sense not to. That meant he won. You got to be common sense. You got to put your emotions aside and be reasonable. Reasonable, meaning you can be reasoned with. You do what's right for the most people. You can't always get what you want. And this is why Donald Trump plays that song. It's to rub it in your face. She got 3 million more of the popular vote, but that's not all. That's not the way we pick the president either. And you may hate the Electoral College, but it is in the Constitution, and therefore, unless we change it with a 2/3 vote in the House, 2/3 vote in the Senate, and 2/3 vote in the states going into the next election, and the next one after that, and the one after that, it's going to be there. See, and you can't quit because emotionally, you're not with that. You have to be reasonable and make baby steps sometimes. This is what incremental change looks like. Just for those of you who are deciding, do I want bold and structural, radical change, in the system itself? Or do I want incremental change that is not so scary? I want you to know that the rules that we are facing at this convention in Milwaukee is what incremental change looks like. Bold structural change to favor democratic principles of whoever gets the most votes win, the way the Republicans do it, believe it or not, that requires somebody who's into bold structural changes, someone who knows the game, and someone who knows where to tweak the game to fix the game so that it is more democratic, not less. But when confronted with the choice between bold structural change and incremental change that favors you, you can't quit, you can't sit it out, and you can't throw your vote away to somebody that has no chance, no prayer of winning, because then a demagogue, an autocrat, steps right up and fills that vacuum. Smarten up.